Hi, everybody. Dion Major here, CEO of Inside Sales by Design, as well as SalesClass.ai. And thank you for joining our podcast, Universal Sales Truths. We started this podcast to share stories and journeys of universal sales truths, meaning what was true to forge a relationship with clients in the past. It was true in the past and will be true today and will be true tomorrow. And so we're bringing guests to you and speakers that have amazing backgrounds and experience to share pieces and parts of their journey and their stories. And we know that you will be inspired and you will learn something and hopefully get some folks to connect with as well and broaden your circle and your network, because that's what this life and world is all about, are the human connections we make at the end of the day. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for listening to the Universal Sales Truth podcast. And we hope to hear from you soon. And I know that you're going to leave inspired. Hey everybody, Dion Major here with Kyle Dunn. He's a VP at NeoGenomics, the Informatics Division. He's absolutely a stellar sales leader and salesperson. We're so excited that he's joining us today on the Universal Sales podcast, or Universal Sales Truths podcast that we're starting. So we're super excited to be here. Kyle, we're going to start and reverse the order here. Normally we do some intros and stuff, but you and I were just talking about universal sales truths. What's true today, what was true yesterday, what'll be true tomorrow, right? And so in your career, and it's been long and varied and storied, and we'll get to that in a minute, what is one universal sales truth that you've identified? And there's more than one, but in this case, pick one. And what would that be?
Yeah, I think thanks for having me on, Dion. It's great to see you.
Yeah.
Good to talk. I think the universal sales truth that will be here forever is, and this is kind of an easy one, it's such a basic, but just the importance of prospecting and having a scalable, repeatable prospecting process to where you can constantly fill top of funnel to progress your sales opportunities. And, Brian Tracy has a great quote that you should be spending 75% of your time prospecting. And then you hire service people to help you when you can't prospect that amount anymore, or you can't service your accounts. So, all things in companies can be cured with increased sales. And the only way you're going to increase sales is by prospecting.
Amen. So given that, and I agree with you, and it's so funny, there's so many posts on LinkedIn now and all that good, LinkedIn and other mediums as far as the issue with prospecting, right? And there was one from Jake Dunlap about is cold calling a skill that you need to be successful in sales? The answer is yes. But he did a poll, it was very interesting. So given that, Kyle, what does that look like for you and your team now at NeoGenomics in the Informatics Division? Like, how do you press into that truth?
Yeah, it's been interesting. So a lot of the tactics we use today, we were using previously, and COVID made some of the channels not as successful or easy as they used to be. LinkedIn used to be amazing for prospecting and getting a hold of people. That connection request from a cool contact, people are just getting blown up now through that sales channel. So I think it's, that's one of the channels that we've used. It is still successful, but you can't just rely on a message. You've got to pick up the phone. You've got to email. You need to have a call cadence. And that's really what we've done now with our team and our sales process is we have a process of how we prospect, how we close, and how we service. So putting that all together was critical. And it starts with our sales development team, and they have targeted list of accounts. We train them on the products that we sell and the buyer personas of who's going to buy those products, so they understand keywords and what's important to these types of people. We practice targeted messaging, and they do call cadences that include email, social touches, phone touches, cold calls in terms of a cold dial, or we do random FaceTimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of people have picked up the phone when they're like, I just want to know who accidentally called me on FaceTime, and I'm going to answer this. And it's the salesperson on the other line. It's the new connection request on LinkedIn. It's the cold FaceTime.
Yeah.
So we do that a lot, and our team has grown our pipeline in the last 12 months. I mean, exponentially. We've got a huge variety of sales opportunities that we're working on, and we've been able to grow that top of funnel because we have a scalable process, and we use a lot of good sales technology tools. We use SalesLoft for the team that our sales development team uses, where they've got programmed call cadences. We have a very detailed funnel and forecast where we keep track of our sales qualified opportunities and all of those that have had discovery calls, and then get moved into the forecast. So I think I answered your question. I kind of rambled a bit. Sorry.
No, that's exactly right. Where it's, how do you kind of take this concept and turn it into a very concrete walk the walk example or path for people to take when it comes to prospecting, right? Because I think that's why a lot of people don't, is there's ambiguity in there. It's like, well, who am I supposed to call, and what am I supposed to say, and what do I do if they pick up the phone or don't pick up the phone, or what do I do if? So that's kind of my thought on the block for prospecting. What do you think it is?
Yeah. I think blocking, so not just blocking time, but blocking the product that you're selling. You got to get into a rhythm. So for those of you that haven't been able to tell yet, I have a small stutter, and I've stuttered my whole life. And I started my sales career at NeoGenomics, carrying the bag, selling laboratory testing to pathologists and oncologists in Colorado. And it was really hard for me to pick up the phone. A cold walk was much easier because the empathy of a doctor to just see you in person, like if you can catch them in a hallway or in the lab, it was much easier. So to call and do the phone was very hard for me. But what I did is I got really dialed in on a couple of our products, and I had scripts that I followed, and I knew exactly why I was calling, who I am, the reason for my call, what I want to show you, and why it's important for you and why you need to listen. And then I could deliver a message in probably under a minute that I would either ask them, now that I have you on the phone, can we schedule some time on the calendar to meet in person? Or if you're in front of a computer and have time now, I can do a web demo live for you. And that process of doing that, I got really good at doing it. And again, it just filled the top of the funnel so fat to where I could learn. I mean, that's part of the thing in sales. Again, why prospecting is so important is when you have a top of funnel, you can fail. When you've got a lot of opportunities, it's okay to fail. You're not as desperate to try to close one or two of those big monsters because you've got a bunch of opportunities. And I think that was for me, that was for really successful, is that I had 20 to 30 of these deals at a time that I was working, that I learned a tremendous amount. So prospecting and chunking and blocking my time allowed me to generate a massive amount of top of funnel that then just was a big windfall for me as I worked these deals through the sales process.
Yeah. I think those are just golden words of wisdom for sure, because who knows what's going to happen? People could leave a company. We could miss somebody in a buying committee. Like there's 1,000 things that can happen to a deal and most of them are not in our control at the end of the day. So, but what is in our control is picking up the phone and doing outreach and all that good stuff for sure. I love it. So you had mentioned that you started your career at NeoGenomics, and so here you are now as the VP in the Informatics Division. So tell us a little bit about your progression.
Yeah, so I started off as the person that most salespeople hate. I used to manage the CRM at NeoGenomics. I built the CRM. I launched Salesforce at Neo was my big thing, and I had to teach the reps to log their calls in a culture that wasn't used to logging calls, right? And how to use this and how to do their prospecting and everything. But did that, learned a ton, and eventually got the opportunity to move into sales. I was persuasive enough in some of the things where they said, hey, you might be able to go sell some of our products and services. So I was a field-based rep in Colorado, and I had a huge territory at the time, and learned a lot there. Transitioned to another field-based role in Los Angeles, and I was a rep in a smaller geography but a larger dollar amount market, and moved into that. And then after NeoGenomics acquired Clarient from GE Healthcare, I took on a national business development role to call on academic centers across the US. So that was my first exposure into like big national travel, working collaboratively with our 45 sales reps across the country. Didn't have any direct reports, but had to collaboratively work with people that were all different backgrounds, all different ages. Right. And it was really cool experience. Then started to build out a small team within that group. And over the last couple of years, more transitioned into informatics, where I'm helping lead that now from a sales perspective. And I've been able to build up a team that includes sales, service, and product.
Nice. That's amazing, Kyle. And so what does the Informatics Division within NeoGenomics do?
Yeah, so NeoGenomics is a clinical diagnostic testing company that's focused on oncology. So that's our core business. We're a cancer testing laboratory. We have 3 divisions. We have a clinical division, a pharma division, and an informatics division. The clinical division provides clinical testing services for pathologists and oncologists. Our pharma services division utilizes those same tests and does biomarker testing services for pharmaceutical companies. Informatics utilizes the data from our clinical division to solve real-world problems for pharma companies across the ecosystem. So we do stuff like help match patients to clinical trials. We can link our data to external sources of data for things called real-world evidence. We have one of the largest libraries of digital pathology slides in the United States. So we're doing a lot of stuff with AI and machine learning. So we basically use our data and have a lot of different analytical products that we build to answer important questions.
Nice. So that's amazing. And I know in talking with you about it before, it's amazing that companies like yours exist at the end of the day, and there's been the advances in science, because we don't always take the time to know or learn or read until, something goes wrong at the end of the day. So it's kind of nice to know and see that. And I love what your team is doing there for sure. And as you've talked a little bit about your career progression and into sales, and you talked about being able to move into the national accounts and, working with folks, and sometimes it's rewarding as well as challenging to not have direct reports, but be responsible for working with and influencing and persuading and being persuaded amongst a team. What are top 2 aha moments if you had to call out in your career?
Wow. So one of our core values at NeoGenomics is to be a team player and about teamwork. And I think that really has to do with being collaborative. And while you may be really passionate about an idea and you have to do it this way, it's important to pause and ask people about, well, what would you do? And I think it comes with a little bit of humility, and you just kind of learn that as you get older in your career and you deal with different people and situations. But to be humble enough to say, let me hear what these other people have to say. First of all, it gets them included in the decision-making process and they feel involved, which is important. And then usually people have really insightful things when they want to speak up. They do want to share some great ideas. So that was a big moment for me. And I think that happened a little bit later in my career than I wish it would have. But it was important for sure. And I think the other aha moment, besides just collaboration and teamwork, is, it sounds so cheesy, but everyone talks about you got to find something that you love. But I mean, if you really want to be good at things, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. And you've got to be willing to put in the time and put in the hours, unless you're just a super quant, smart, intelligent, crazy person. You can learn this stuff super fast. It took me a little bit longer, but passion and wanting to put in the long hours and wanting to get better. I always had that in my life, but I started to realize that for me, that was one of my competitive advantages against other people, is that, I think The Rock says it all the time, how he'll outwork anyone in the gym. Like I tell my team, like, I'm going to outwork you guys. You guys, I hope you keep up. I say it in a friendly, collegial way, but it's that competition. Like, I will outwork you. And it's not that, it's not workaholic style. It's that when you're here, you're super efficient. You get stuff done. You work hard. You think smart. You plan stuff. You talked about sales blocking and blocking your time off. It's about time management. So when you nail those things down, you can be super efficient and knock things out really quickly and have productive days. So hard work, time management, and collaboration are some of the things that I've really practiced a lot. And I think they're the big aha moments that I think will make me really successful in my career.
I love it. So for somebody coming into sales right now, whether they're, fresh out of college or transitioning from one career into sales, what is a single piece of advice you would give them?
Read. You got to read books. Reading helps you write emails. It helps you expand your vocabulary. We have so much information available today, and you can't cheat and just do audiobooks. Audiobooks aren't the same. Reading is really important because we all get a lot of emails. So to be able to speed read through things is a critical skill. So I think reading, and you got to read the right stuff. You can't read a bunch of fiction books. You want to read nonfiction, business finance books, things about investing, because stock books and investing books are great to teach you about economics and finances and money and profit margins and revenue and all the things that are just good general business skills. So some of my favorite books from a management perspective, I like to read books from Peter Drucker. From a sales perspective, I love Aaron Ross has, all the sales development books that are, I'm drawing a blank right now as we're talking about this, but Aaron Ross has a great book. All the great sales books that are out there, Neil Rackman, The Challenger Sale. These are just things that reading is the biggest thing you can do to break through in your career, not just in sales, but I think in anything. So, and just on your comment on people that are new into sales and want to get in, I would love to hire someone that said or had on their resume top sales books that they've read. It's an immediate thing that I would go to and like HR. Yes, I want to talk to this person because readers are leaders and they learn. And so, yeah, that is the biggest thing that I would encourage people to do is read nonfiction business books because they will help you tremendously.
Amen to that for sure. And Kyle, so parting words for everybody, and how should folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, parting words, I guess. If I can do it, you all can do it. So, that's the one thing. If you guys want to reach me, the best way would be definitely on LinkedIn. My profile is pretty public. It's Kyle Dunn DX is my URL. So linkedin.com and then the /in/Kyle Dunn DX. And look forward to, if I can help any of you in your sales career, have any questions, advice, want to talk, would love to schedule some time with y'all. Thanks, Dion, for having me on.
You bet, Kyle. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with us for a little bit and listening to the second Universal Sales Truth podcast. And we appreciate that. You can listen to the audio version. You can see the full version on our YouTube channel, Inside Sales by Design YouTube channel. And again, like Kyle was saying, part of being successful in life are the relationships we have. So I encourage you, if you haven't yet, connect with Kyle, reach out, connect with me, connect with each other, have a good conversation. It doesn't have to be soul searching or in depth, but have a good conversation. And until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Universal Sales Truth podcast. Please make sure that you subscribe to our podcast so you're notified of updates. You can also find this content on the Inside Sales by Design YouTube channel. So make sure you take a look at that. It'll also be in the salesclass.ai platform for you and your teams. And please make sure to reach out and connect with myself and the speaker you heard today individually. We look forward to seeing you again soon, and contact us if there's anything you specifically want to hear or know about. Thank you so much and enjoy your day.